Before we get going, I gotta say thanks to all of you, because last night this channel passed 5,000 subscribers, which it just blows me, it just blows my mind. I can't believe that there are 5,000 people who have actually subscribed to this catastrophe of a channel, and especially to all of you who are regular viewers. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. It's just been an amazing experience for me, and it just continues to grow, and it's just been amazing. This is not the video that I intended to make. I'm in my new studio, and this space is a one-car garage. It's 12 by 18 feet, which is a little different than the 4,000 square foot warehouse that I've been working in for the last 35 years. But it's actually been pretty interesting to downsize into this space and to set up a fully functional little workshop that can do everything, or almost everything, that I can do in my big shop at home. The regular viewers of this channel will know that I'm helping my family out, and I'm far away from home. And that situation is going to continue through the winter and into the spring, indefinitely, actually. And I hope to just bounce between this studio and the studio in California. So huge thanks also to Shauna and Tom, who graciously have donated their garage to this channel for the duration. Without you guys and without them, without all the support that I've had, this just wouldn't have happened, and I appreciate it very much. So let's get on to the video. This is not the video I had planned to make. I have in fact shot an entirely different video for this week. This week was supposed to be dedicated to doing nothing but setting up this little studio space. I've got tool stands to build. I've got organization and wiring and lighting and all kinds of stuff to do this week. But bad things happen. And I found out that the video that I had prepared for this week, I couldn't use. This is the mold that I made last week at home. And what happened is a viewer sent in this project, and I said, ooh, this is a perfectly good project. And I shot the video last week for this week, so this week I could spend the whole week setting up this new temporary shop. But then I wrote to him and said, hey, your video's coming out next week. And he went, whoa, I didn't want this project shown to anybody. It was confidential. So I can't show you what's in it, you know. It was my fault. I didn't read my emails carefully enough. There's a lesson in it. But what I did want to show you is I really like this project for a lot of reasons. It had some interesting features about the object itself. It's a tool part, and it's proprietary and all that good stuff. So, but what I liked about this project and what was interesting about it was, as you can see, there are no rubber bands. This mold is ready to pour, and I am going to be pouring a sample for the owner of this thing. But let's take it apart. What I thought made this project interesting was that I designed the mold case. This is the case that it was actually poured in. Poured it like this at an angle. I'll explain that in a minute. But anyway, I poured it in this case. This is just made of my usual construction method of beeswaxed wood. But what I did was I screwed it all together instead of gluing it and waxing it and everything, because I not only wanted to cast the mold, to pour the mold into this case, I wanted to use this exact same case for pouring and casting the resins. So now I need to find the hole. Where's the hole? Once you locate the first hole, the other holes tend to pretty much automatically locate themselves. And we screw it back together. So when I cast this, instead of using rubber bands, one of the reasons I like rubber bands for molds is that they're fast. They come off and they go on faster. It's a little slower to have to unscrew and rescrew a mold case back together for each mold cycle. But it has its advantages. And chief among the advantages is that you can make a mold that really holds the thing closed very tight and very neat. And it's the same case that cast the rubber is holding the rubber. So it holds it really tight. And if you look up close, you can see the parting line is just super invisible. I mean, it's just really, really, really good. So this method works too, and it's a good way to economize on rubber because, as you can see, it's a real thin, narrow, flat-shaped mold. It works really great. Now, one of the things that I did was, it was a slightly different shape, and I poured it, the thing was a little bit bigger, but I had to cut it down to make sure that it would go into the pressure pot. And I was too lazy to actually match the angle of the thing. Doesn't really matter. Instead of setting up the table saw to carefully match the angles and everything and make it kind of off shape, I just cut it square. This thing is sitting in there just fine. When I pour this, I'm going to rock it to make sure that some parts down inside here fill correctly, and then it'll just single pour, rise up, single vent. And it should feel great. It's got a nice big pour. I wish I could show you the part, but I can't. And I promised them I wouldn't, so I won't. And so anyway, that's what happened with this. It's such an interesting way to make molds. We're going to do it again with a project I could actually show you. And so for the rest of this video, I'm just going to talk about my new little shop and what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what I thought was essential, what I thought I could leave behind. And so we'll go on and take a look at that. Something that we're going to have to deal with is that Shauna and Tom are having a huge landscaping and driveway and patios and walls and entryway exterior construction job going on. So and as you can see, it's literally right outside the window of this shop. And that's just something we're going to have to deal with this whole time. And we got trucks going, we're going to have excavators and pavers and graders and the whole 9 yards. And it's just something that we're going to have to deal with, and something that we will deal with. This is our 5,000 subscriber special studio tour. And I'll just show you how I'm going to set this place up, starting with the most important piece of equipment in the shop. And that, of course, is the pressure pot. What I did was I hauled one of my pressure pots from my studio at home, but I thought the wheels were inadequate, so I picked up these very nice heavy-duty casters, and boy, were they expensive, but I pretty much figure when I'm dead and in my tomb, those will be the wheels underneath my casket. So I think they were a good investment. So I picked up a ultra-quiet oilless compressor. Was not very expensive. I have tested it and it works great. Behind you, you can see the truck airline hose that I'm going to adapt. And by the way, what I'm going to do is not use the wheels on the vacuum pump. I'm going to mount the whole thing on a cart where the tank will be directly above the pump on those heavy-duty wheels, so I can just roll the whole thing around as a single apparatus. That will be beautiful. That's just a box of lighting that I need to put up. Have not put up my studio lights. This is a tool stand that I built. The bottom is a grill, barbecue grill bottom. The top was all rotted out, so we threw it out. And I just built a little surface, a little top surface out of a hollow core door, which I cut down. And all you have to do is cut like a 1x2 to the correct size and just plug the end of a hollow core door. So it's an instantaneous super lightweight cart top. Sitting on top is a brand new router table that I got from Harbor Freight, and it is well, let's just put it this way, it's relatively inexpensive. But what I have attached to it is a sewing machine light, and I have become a big fan of these little sewing machine lights for lighting tool surfaces. And anywhere like drill presses, table saws, anything, I just clamp them on, and they make nice light fixtures for video, and that works really good. Overall, the quality of the thing is pretty low, but I think it's going to do exactly what we need it for. That's another theme. Will this tool last for the duration of my temporary shop? You can tell it's not the greatest. I'm going to start the motor. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. What you can't smell is the sharp smell of ozone in the air when that motor runs. God only knows how long that motor is going to run before it burns out. But it was inexpensive, and like I said, hopefully it will last for the duration. Going on with our theme of Harbor Freight tools, I picked up this little $70 5-speed drill press. It's small and it was inexpensive. Let's see if we can hear this thing run. Yeah, I'm not sure where all that noise is coming from, if it's the spindles, if it's the motor, if it's the belt. Maybe I can tune it up, get it to run a little quieter. The other thing about it is there's a pretty good run out in that spindle. Yeah, it's going to drill slightly oversized holes. But again, we come back to the same theme. I don't expect to have this tool for the rest of my life. We'll see how long it lasts. For 70 bucks, you know, you're not going to expect to buy a monster of a machine, let's put it that way. But I think it will do exactly what we want it to do, which is drill a bunch of holes in mold cases. Moving on to what is arguably the second most important tool in the shop. This is my little vacuum chamber and pump that I picked up off Amazon. And if you've watched some previous videos, you know I've already used it. So it works really well. It's nowhere near as fast in terms of pumping air as my big industrial pump back home, but it does the job and pumps a near complete vacuum, de-airs rubber really well, and again, was inexpensive. So I'm pleased with it, and I know that we're going to make a lot of molds with it. Behind it is one of my homemade rotators, and I brought this size. It's just a good all-round size. And I know we're going to be doing some rotation projects here in the shop, so it's going to be handy to have a rotator with us. This tool was something of an experiment. I really kind of expected it to be pretty much of a toy, but in fact, it's turned out to make some pretty nice cuts. It's a Rockwell table-mounted jigsaw, and I bought it to replace my table saw and my bandsaw. I didn't really feel like having to buy a contractor's table saw and a small bandsaw. It was a lot of money. This tool was really inexpensive, but to my surprise, it makes pretty nice cuts. I ripped a long board into this 1-inch strip and did the cross cuts, and as you can see, the cut quality is surprisingly good. It's nowhere near as fast as a table saw, but it does a really nice job. We're primarily building mold cases, and they're small, so this tool is a surprise win. So far, I'm pretty pleased with it. The next tool is this Buck Tool belt sander. Of all the tools that I bought for this shop, this is by far and away the best quality. The motor is direct drive, so the belt, the sanding belt, works really well. I've been using it already and testing it out. There's a small little sanding disc on this side, also works really well. So looking forward to using that tool. All of these tools are going to be on their own stands or are going to be portable and movable to stands, so they'll be easy and quick to set up. Likewise, my toolbox down here will be on its own stand. I do not like it sitting down on the floor, so it's going to get its own stand. This is an old monster, an old dinosaur, the very sight of which fills me with joy and happiness. It's a 1970s vintage all steel, except for the laminated wood tops, Black & Decker Workmate. And they still make them, only now, of course, they're made of plastic. This thing is all steel. I'm fortunate enough to own 2 of them, both of them from the 1970s, and still working perfectly, still rugged as hell, heavy as all get out. And I lugged it all the way here from California because I just can't be without it. It is our all-purpose work holding table surface tool, everything, handy third arm piece of equipment. I think they're indispensable. One of the best tools I've ever bought, certainly dollar for dollar, one of the most important tools I've ever bought. I use it constantly at the shop. I have 2 of them, and one of them is here with me. Can't live without it. Onward. The floor is concrete and it's reasonably new. Last thing I want to do is mung it up. So I will be covering the floor with ram board, which is that heavy duty construction paper kind of cardboard. They sell a tape that goes specifically with it, and I'm going to cover the whole floor in here and tape it down with ram board. And I think that will protect against spills, resin, rubber, all kinds of mayhem and horrors that are sure to happen in this little building. Garbage can is just a bucket. I scrounged some lumber off some old pallets laying around the construction site, and I'm going to use this lumber for all those tool stands. And at Harbor Freight, I also picked up this nice box of casters. I thought they were pretty funny, actually, because they're not the heaviest duty casters in the world, but they do have this massive half-inch stem on each caster. So they are more than adequate for the job, and they were inexpensive. Unlike the casters I showed you earlier, these are pretty cheap. The other ones were really expensive, like lifetime quality. However, these casters are going to do their jobs just fine, and that job is to make it easy and quick for me to set up jobs as we move around the shop. Well, this concludes our 5,000 subscriber special tour of my studio. That's it. That's the whole shop. Hey, if you like this video, hit that like button. Be sure to leave your questions and comments down below. And if you have a project that you'd like to see me do on the channel, hit me up down in the comments. We'll take a look at it, and who knows, maybe one of your pieces will be one of the projects that we'll be doing in the future. I love hearing from all of you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers, and I will see you next week.